Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to the second African Kingdoms Expert 3v3 Showcase, hosted by myself, Resonance22 and Robo, who will be co-casting with me today. This is going to be Game 2 in a 5-game series, and the goal of these matches is to show us how the top Age of Empires 2 experts will play the brand new expansion. In Game 2, each team is required to pick 2 different African Kingdom civilizations, and they will be playing on a modified version of Team Islands that contains the new animals, but is otherwise exactly the same. Now, if you're wondering where Game 1 is, in Game 1, when we launched Fire, one of the players did indeed crash during the launch, and then when we remade the lobby, I crashed and the players decided to finish the game anyway, so unfortunately I do not have Game 1. I might cast the replay later for that, we'll see, but regardless, we're into Game 2. Let's get this show on the road, and welcome to stream, everybody.
Oh. Oh.
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
I hope no one crashes, for the love of God. I'm going to very briefly flash the draft on the screen, I suppose, but I don't know if there's too much of a point in that. You can always pause it right here if you really wanted to see that. Oh!
No drops?
No drops!
This is good. This is good.
Alright, cool beans. Then I suppose I will introduce the players for NC, and then you can introduce Brazil. So, on the top island, in the top left corner of the map, we have NilPferD playing as the red Byzantines. To his right, we have Pedro playing as the blue Malians. And to his right, we have Skittle playing as the gray Portuguese.
And opposite Skittle, we have red as the teal Portuguese, fire as the pocket as green Vikings, and Dogao as the yellow Malians.
So, Robo, can you tell us a little bit about what you think of their civilization picks and bans for this game?
I think Byzantines for NC definitely shows how they've prepared for this, because with having the fire galleys in feudal age, the Byzantine 20% faster firing is just so amazingly strong. And then the Viking player doesn't actually get fire galleys at all. So I expect the Brazil team is going to be forced to do back docks and play very defensive in the early game, simply because in very small numbers, fire galleys are amazingly strong versus galleys.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that the Viking civilization actually sustained a lot of nerfs in the Forgotten before they reworked the water balance in African kingdoms. So not only do they not have fire galleys, but they sustained a pretty huge loss to their cheaper docks team bonus, as well as the cost reduction for their warships. So overall, the Vikings are a substantially weaker civilization on water than they were before. They used to be, quite dominant. And for those of you who are just tuning in, I will be posting all the matches on my YouTube page, and you can also find all the links to the rules and the previous African Kingdom Showcase or any expert games in the video description as well.
One thing I'd like to quickly point out is that the Brazil island is extremely unfortunate. Like, their trade line, 2 war galleys can pretty much cover their whole trade line in the middle of their island, with that massive little inlet coming in.
Yeah, if they lose control of the water, then that is going to be devastating for them. It's going to be very difficult to establish a trade line and therefore stage a comeback. And I expect them to lose the water early anyway versus those Byzantine fire galleys going to be quite powerful. Right now we can see Fire using his scout to lure in the elephant. The scout here is not going to be as useful as it would be on a land map, for example, since he can't actually use the scout to scout his opponent. So he might as well use that to lure in his elephant just to save a little bit of idle time in his villagers.
And something worth pointing out, boars now do more damage to scouts when they attack them. So little misplays, like with Dogao, where his scout is basically dead. It's like if you take 1 or 2 extra hits, you can't lure your second boar, or in this case, your second elephant.
Alright, here we can see NilPferD luring in his elephant as well, and he has his scout stationed next to his second one, which you will be able to pull in when he's ready. And he is actually going to lose a villager to his elephant right about now, which is going to be quite unfortunate for him. He will not lose the second one, though, and I suppose that part of this is due to the Aoe2 HD delay.
The lag is probably pretty bad between the players to begin with, and then... Oh wow, fire, why are you docking in there?
No.
And like, you've got cartography, like, you know that that's not a dock. So he's docking for 1 deep sea fish and a lot of shore fish, but even so, like, that's not a very long-term sustainable dock.
Yeah, that was a pretty odd decision on his part. Thank you, Major Dan Noob, for the resub. Yeah, so the reason that this dock is not necessarily optimal is that fishing ships, of course, gather food at different rates based off the type of fish. They gather food actually quite slowly from shore fish compared to the deeper sea fish, so having access to only one safe fish tuna here is a little bit unfortunate. He has a lot of shore fish though, so this dock placement is okay, but the thing is that this isn't necessarily any safer than just putting it at the back. In fact, it's significantly less safe. The fact that everybody is putting their docks at the front, though, makes me think that Brazil is going to try and contest for control of the water early, whereas actually Pedro has a dock at the back.
Pedro will probably be slinging again.
Yeah.
And I think Fire's probably going for the fact that because the dock is so far inland, NC's not going to scout it. Like, if you saw that little opening there, you would not think, oh, somebody's got their fish in there. So it's possible that they'll just completely go past it and he'll have safe fish without really needing to stress too much about defending it. And would maybe give him a chance to get out enough galleys to defend.
That's actually a good point. So we might see that that dock does not end up being scouted, so they might even assume that he could be up to some sort of slinging shenanigans in the early game. It feels almost like a waste of potential for the Malians to be put on slinging duty. But then again, this is a water map, and the Malians don't actually have access to bracers, so their late game water is not going to be as strong. And yeah, we'll have to see how this plays out over time. It looks like Fire is not going to be slinging, so do you think that this is going to give an advantage to the NC team?
I think probably, because with the last showcase, they just slung Pedro for fire galleys to raid, and then he got up to Castle Age really quickly for proper fire ships. And that just went amazingly strong versus the traditional galley rushes of the rain team. So if Brazil goes for that same strategy where they just do a standard grush, oh wow, Pedro and Skittle are landing. The landing is real in RiuT base with the Dark Age transport ship here. This I like this a lot. This is just hype.
So I was wondering a bit why as to Pedro was conserving the HP on his scout and not using it to do any sort of luring, and this is why, is because Pedro wanted to use his scout to aggressively land. In the Forgotten, we got a balance change where you can now build transport ships in the Dark Age, just in case you wanted to try some sort of crazy Dark Age drush or something, but we're not going to see that here, as it looks like Skittle is going to pull out. This is a very interesting strategy. Pedro will be able to gain a lot of map vision here, and he also forced a lot of idle time out from RiuT, so it sort of evens out. Where is Skittle going?
Who knows? I think he might go to collect NilPferD's scout, because it's still on full health in the middle of the map. So, they could maybe consider picking him up, taking him along for the joyride.
There is no dashboard meta. This is Aoe2 HD, so it doesn't exist. We're playing on HD, not Voobly. Interesting.
Pedro's about to lose his scout, unfortunately. There it goes.
So I guess he really didn't get any sort of meaningful scouting information off from this. He did force a little bit of idle time, but Skittle had 3 villagers in there, so I would say that overall that was a favorable exchange for Brazil, especially considering that Skittle had to spend the extra wood on that transport ship. So nothing interesting really developing from that quite yet, but he has landed again in the middle of the island. Very hard to see him since he's the gray color. Gonna kill a crocodile. He has his own scout forward. Ooh, we're gonna see like a barracks or something? Maybe some towers?
Oh, I think Fire's just seen it though. I don't think this is gonna pay off for the NC team. I think they would have been better off just going for a standard water with sling sort of a build, because NilPferD is really laid up, and I'm not sure if his fire galleys are going. Oh wow, Fire's just going full demo rafts, it seems.
Yeah, and he might be able to pick off some of those fire galleys. Actually, wait, no, never mind. They have like complete water control here, actually. NilPferD a little slower up to the feudal age, and Dogao just completely overwhelming him. Fire has a couple of demolition rafts stationed defensively here because he wants to be able to deal with those fire galleys once they come out for the Byzantine player, NilPferD. I think this landing decision is very strange for NC, considering how I feel like they would have already naturally had the advantage of the water versus Vikings in their early game, since you can spam those Byzantine fire galleys. So this seems almost like an unnecessary risk, and unfortunately for them, Fire did manage to scout it immediately. Some aggressive spearmen coming down here. Will it be enough?
Oh, and Skittle's gonna lose his villagers. Trying to get the quick wall in there, and she just didn't make it in time.
It looks like this forward will be stopped entirely in its tracks. A couple spearmen doing some economic damage. I mean, forcing some idle time out from Fire's villagers. But yet again, that's a lot of wood down the drain for Skittle. Slowed them down significantly, and this basically means that they just forfeited control of the water early.
Oh, the villager. Oh, the micro is so strong. She lives.
Oh, wow. It looks like, thanks to this crocodile, that Fire is going to lose this extra villager here as well. Huh?
Oh, that was really well played. And NilPferD trying to take back the water, but he just got absolutely wrecked by a couple of demo rafts. Although his demo rafts, they are doing well as well. Doing quite a lot of damage to the galleys.
The African Kingdoms water metagame, of course, very exciting. We have swapped the galley spam for the fire galley spam. And, well, it really shows right now exactly how strong the fire galley as a unit is, but we do see the players are starting to mix in their own galleys. There are a lot of reasons for this. For one, once you secure control of the water with fire galleys, then you're not able to actually do any land harassment with them since they have, like, no range, and you would much rather have, like, massed up galleys. It's just, if you go for galleys initially, then if you have an even number of fire galleys versus galleys, you can't kill the fire galleys before they actually get up to you, and that can be quite a bad fight.
Well, at least in very low numbers. Once you can get a massive about 6, 7, 8 galleys, then it becomes a much more even fight.
Well, we see an outpost going down for Fire as he's just kind of walling up this area, conceding that Skittle actually did manage to keep a villager alive, so he's going to be pumping some archers out. He has a stable down here, so...
Oh, I think Fire's wall is going to get denied on the south side. Those spearmen...
It is.
Nope.
Oh, never mind.
Never mind that.
Well, the spearman did bring a little bit of a crocodile with them, and he will be able to, raid that wood line. So he did manage to sneak in some spearmen and a crocodile, which is good for him, but he did not actually deny the wall off, so it's going to be difficult to reinforce his army. Meanwhile, it looks like Brazil has a pretty commanding lead on the water. This is a very fearsome navy. It's going to be very difficult for the NC team to actually claw their way back on the water against such a balanced army comp of ships. They're going to need something like a castle, perhaps, or they're going to really have to rely on Skittle's landing.
Well, the problem is their best way to come back would probably be going for something like caravels. But the Portuguese player is kind of busy landing at the moment. So it's probably going to turn into a double sling to Skittle and hope he can kill all with knights and crossbows.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to go all in on Skittle here, just sending as much resources as possible to try and snowball this, and hopefully they can kill one of these guys to even it out. I think the Caravel point is interesting. For those of you who are not aware, the Caravel is one of the 2 Portuguese unique units, and it's sort of like a sea scorpion, so it's like a big war galley that fires piercing shots, which does mean that it can be excellent to claw your way back on the water if you are behind. But right now, I feel like they're pretty far behind, perhaps too far behind to even make some Caravels. It's going to be tricky.
No, yeah, as soon as they spread out their galleys and fire galleys all around the coastline, they're not going to be able to redock.
Well, like I said, overwhelming, dominant water control for Brazil here. Slowly clearing out all of those docks. I do like how Fire actually had a couple of those demolition ships stationed around just in case. And, well, NC is starting to slowly mass up the army. There are 2 stables down for Skittle, and he's almost to the castle age, so I would expect to see some knights from him rather shortly.
They've just broken through the wall with a fire galley on the left-hand, or the south side of Fire's base. So the knights will be running straight in there. And he's got +1 armor and bloodlines on the way. So there's going to be very strong knights coming in a minute.
Oh, that's an extremely cute play there from NilPferD, actually using his fire galley to remove that palisade wall. Something as well that I really like from NC is that Skittle ended up opening up with a bunch of archers, and right now Fire has responded by trying to counter them by making a couple of skirmishers. So he's going to be in for a very unfortunate surprise when he sees the 3 stable knights with the bloodlines and the scale-barding armor. They're going to tear right through those skirmishers that he's massing up.
He's got +2 armor on the way. I assume he's probably going to keep... Yep, he's doing crossbow as well. And he'll keep adding in archers just to stop them walling up or massing too many spearmen.
Yeah, I think this is an excellent decision here from Skittle. He has a very scary army composition, and, while I don't think he has an overwhelming military lead yet, he might be able to do some significant damage to fire and shut him down. Will it be enough for to make up for the massive water deficit? We'll have to see. As one of these knights, we'll be able to clear up basically like 6 or so skirmishers on their own. One villager going to go down, and Skittle's got the crossman upgrade as well.
I think the problem's going to be that Dogao is up to Castle Age, so there's going to be pikemen coming in with almost +4 pierce armor.
Oh my god.
Which is going to be quite dangerous. And look at all the galleys.
Oh,
all
the demo raft!
No, yes. Oh, ho, ho. Yes. That play. That was brilliant.
Very, very well played from Fire there. I was wondering why he was sweeping his demo rafts around, but he knows that the NC team is so far behind on the water that he's probably not going to need those demolition rafts to go offensively, so he pulls them back around the island, and he manages to knock out a bunch of those knights and do so much area of effect damage. Excellent trade for Fire. It might buy him enough time, because he's going to need every single second as that mangonel is moving in.
I'm kind of wondering what RiuT's going to do. Is he just going to boom? Because he hasn't made any military buildings just yet.
Oh.
He's researching war galley, so all these galleys and fire galleys are going to get upgraded. And he's just dropping a town center at the moment. So I think it looks like Dogao is going to be stuck doing the land plays at the moment. And I think it's maybe a misplay, because he seems to be going for knights when he could just be doing Malian infantry.
Yeah, and the Malians get camels too as well, but even then, I think I would have preferred to go for the pikemen like you suggested earlier, just because they have such high pierce armor that the crossbowman support from Skittle will be basically useless. This mangonel is going to provide a lot of pressure onto that town center as it does outrange it, the 7 compared to 6, so Fire will lose this town center eventually if he doesn't do something, and right now, he needs reinforcements pronto.
Luckily, he managed to get up to Castle Age before he lost the town center, though.
And he does have a couple of villagers that actually escaped. If you look on the left side of Dogao's base, Fire does have 2 lumberjacks there. If he dies, though, he's going to be out of the game for a very significant period of time. And Skittle's landing actually paying off. NC taking a massive gamble with this land-based strategy, but it looks like it is actually paying off.
Oh, Fire trying to run the vills. Knights, come back, come back. No. It looks like those villagers that have just run to gold. Just gonna be okay there. Those 2 galleys scaring off the knights, it seems.
God, look at all those villagers getting corralled by those knights. Skittle here is going to kill so many of them. I like that Fire is trying to use his navy very carefully to do as much free damage as he can onto those knights, but it's really not going to be enough. So right now, it all depends on Dogao. Can his knights do something? He has about 5 of them. That's not going to be enough. The town center is down for Fire. How many villagers can he get out? It looks like he actually will escape with quite a few.
I think the problem is at this stage is that Skittle isn't actually making too much army at the moment. He's just making a couple of knights, but he's going to lose all of his mangonels here, and he doesn't really have anything to defend that town center at the moment. And without the mangonels, he can't get through these stone walls anytime soon.
I think it was a very curious decision to leave all 3 of those mangonels unprotected, as they are worth a lot of money. Very, very expensive units here. And losing those can set you significantly far behind. He does have a couple of knights and spearmen in here. He will lose all 3 of those mangonels, and he's going to pull back his knights now. So there's an excellent trade from Dogao. And, well, right now it looks like Brazil hasn't really done any counter landing of their own, but that might be something that they consider soon. They have complete map control, poking at their opponents from the ocean.
And RiuT's just booming away. Just having fun. The Portuguese not really doing too much. Definitely, it's all on Dogao at this stage, because I don't think Fire's even got enough wood for a new town center just yet.
Yeah, Fire's going to be...
It doesn't have the stone either, so he needs to chop...
I didn't notice that. He is actually sending all of his navy around the edge of the island. Yeah, and this is the thing, is that since the way that their island is set up, we were talking about this earlier, that it makes their trade line extremely vulnerable from the ocean, is actually very bad if you're trying to go for an aggressive landing like NC did, because now they're able to get harassed by the... RiuT is relatively well defended, so is Dogao, and Skittle is the only person here with, you know, an offensive presence on the island. So at some point in the game, he's going to get 2v1'd and he'll eventually lose, so can he break through these walls in time?
I don't think he's going to be able to be honest. And the problem is that all these walls are right next to the waterline. So any of these war galleys that come along are going to hit so much damage on the knights as they run through.
And he's basically just stopped attacking the wall entirely, so it's going to be quite a while before he actually gets through this. Meanwhile, NilPferD actually trying to regain control of the water. Did store a bunch of those fire ships inside of his dock, ungarrison them all at once, and he will be able to clean up a couple of Dogao's ships, regain just a little bit of map control, but right now, actually Brazil doesn't have too much of a navy yet, so maybe NilPferD will be able to start staging a comeback with this.
Well, all of RiuT's navy is currently running around the back of their island to try to harass the buildings that Skittle initially built. Try to kill that dock stable archery range that are just sitting there.
I didn't notice that. He is actually sending all of his navy around the edge of the island. Yeah, and this is the thing, is that since the way that their island is set up, we were talking about this earlier, that it makes their trade line extremely vulnerable from the ocean, is actually very bad if you're trying to go for an aggressive landing like NC did, because now they're able to get harassed by the navy that their opponents have, and they conceded so much water control early that they have to deal with this navy now, and they're going to eventually lose all of these buildings.
Skittle is up to imp though,
Ooh.
So I guess that's a good thing. He doesn't have a lot of pop though, he doesn't have a lot of eco, he's fully relying on Pedro's sling at the moment. And I'm assuming that NilPferD's about to click up. Well, maybe NilPferD's slinging as well, but he's got 4 TTs going. He's been booming for quite a long time now.
Good quick walling from Skittle. If this castle goes up, then his forward will continue, and it looks like he does successfully get the quick wall up, so he will be able to build this castle eventually. He still has a bunch of knights. Fire actually has a couple of monks. He was able to convert 3 knights earlier. And things are looking very bad for Skittle. RiuT has been booming a lot, and Skittle has been, yet to actually get through those walls. He's desperately trying to get this castle up to just hold, which means that NilPferD is actually getting a lot of kills on these isolated navies, slowly clawing his way back into the game, but they're still very far behind on the water. This castle did go down, so it will give Skittle a little bit of breathing room to put down more military buildings. He's up to imp. Will this be enough? It's difficult to say.
What's he making? Is he going for Arbalest, or is he going to go for hand cannons? He's doing chemistry, so it looks like he's going to be going for hand cannons. Oh, and the pause is real.
I think I like the choice to go for hand cannons at least a bit, just because the Portuguese, a lot of kills on these isolated navies, slowly clawing his way back into the game, but they're still very far behind on the water. This castle did go down, so it will give Skittle a little bit of breathing room to put down more military buildings. He's up to imp. Will this be enough? It's difficult to say.
What's he making? Is he going for Arbalest, or is he going to go for hand cannons? He's doing chemistry, so it looks like he's going to be going for hand cannons. Oh, and the pause is real.
I think I like the choice to go for hand cannons at least a bit, just because the Portuguese are known for their insanely strong arquebus unique technology that makes it so their gunpowder units are affected by ballistics, which means their hand cannoneers become snipers. And one of the big downsides of hand cannoneers, they're very inaccurate at range. They do miss quite a bit. And, well, giving them ballistics actually fixes most of that. It is very slow to get that out, though, having to wait for that chemistry and arquebus upgrade before you actually start, getting a very strong army. And you have to mass the hand cannoneers, too, so Skittle giving his opponents a lot of breathing room, a lot of time to try and build back. Do we know why the game's paused?
Nope, Dogao didn't say anything that I saw. And there's nothing in the group chat. So it's a bit of a surprise at the moment.
It felt a little greedy to me that RiuT ended up just walling up and booming, but the thing is that I think one of the things he was thinking is that even if he made some military, fire might have died anyway, just because Skittle was so strong from the sling that this is a gamble that is actually paying off at this stage in the game, because now he is fully boomed up, and he did manage to survive. Right now, Skittle going to try and put down another forward castle, this time to prevent RiuT from walling this any further, and he's really trying to put on as much pressure as possible. Meanwhile, Dogao pushing in from the right, from the left.
More importantly with that castle is it stops any war galleys getting into that bit of water there. Because that castle significantly blocks any army walking past, because there's only that little small gap between the castle corner and the water. So it's a bit of a payoff between preventing the war galleys getting in and pushing forwards.
Yeah, and meanwhile, NilPferD is still trying to regain control of the water, but a great demo ship there from RiuT will deny a bunch of those fire ships. This castle starting to apply pressure onto these walls, and right now I guess Skittle's going for the one of everything approach, grab that pikeman upgrade, also making some organ guns, grabbing capped ram, trying to do what he can with the money that he has, putting down additional military buildings. It looks like he's going to mix in some pikemen.
RiuT's going to have a bit of a problem though, because he has no gold income at the moment.
Oh.
Those 2 golds next to the castle, they're both his. And then his main goal is just being denied by the new castle.
You know, that was the other thing about this castle. So not only does it actually deny the navy from coming in here to defend, also apply some pressure on the walls, preventing extra walls from being built, but he has so much range on this castle, it's killing all of RiuT's gold miners on his secondary gold. He can't go out there to get his 3rd gold mine either, so RiuT's going to starve. He's fully boomed, but he has no money to speak of, and now his walls have been breached.
Kind of. The castle's blocking the breach, though. He needs to garrison in the castle and get out on the other side. That's what he needs to try to do.
Oh my god, that is awful.
Oh, and now he's just giving RiuT time to stonewall up a bit more. Oh, this is just unfortunate. Guess, yeah, deciding to go the other way and try to attack Dogao and fire. Dogao's just going for Arbalest, it seems. Which is interesting choice.
That's weird. Don't the Malians... The Malians don't get bracers, so their Arbalists are not that great. But I understand why he's doing that, because the Arbalists are a strong counter to hand cannoneers and halberdiers, but I feel like they're a very suboptimal unit for the Malians in general. I guess he doesn't have that many excellent options, and I think that was a very unfortunate decision to not push into RiuT there, as it allowed him to get another layer of walls. Skittle's going to go in there. He's going to be very disappointed to find that RiuT is all safe because he pulled back.
Well, to be fair for the Malian player, he can't really go for infantry that easily because there's a lot of hand cannons out. And even organ guns mixed in are going to do so much damage to a massive champions charging in.
Yeah, so it's not like Dogao really has that many excellent options at his disposal, so he's just trying to make do with what he has, and here Arbalists are at least okay. He has a very small army size, though, and right now Skittle, a very commanding military lead. He's finally surpassed every single player on the Brazil team in terms of score, and he's moving in there, putting down a watchtower to prevent another, I guess, like, just to make it really annoying for RiuT to try and get that stone and gold. Here come the hand cannoneers. RiuT's in deep trouble.
And you know how I said the RiuT doesn't have any gold income?
Yep.
He does have some gold income now over near Skittle's main base on like the NC island.
Oh my god.
Well, he's currently lost control of the gold again, but temporarily he had a little bit of gold income.
Well, this is the landing.
And the fast fires from NilPferD, there are just so many of them in the middle of the map.
Yeah, NilPferD...
He's just spamming them out of like 8 docks now.
Oh my god, he's a shitload of docks. He is even more than 8 at this point.
And he's reaching Galleon as well. So he's going full water now.
This is actually awful for Brazil, as they have perhaps overcommitted into the Navy. All of RiuT's military are boats, and that's not going to defend him against this land army that's coming in here. And meanwhile, it's still not enough, as NilPferD has been slowly, steadily just harassing everything with those fast fire ships, incrementally clawing his way back onto the water, and he's finally succeeded. I think both teams are about even, and with this defensive castle, I think Skittle will be able to deal with RiuT's forward quite nicely. And RiuT's going to lose his base. His Navy will not be able to protect himself. He has to retreat.
He's making some transport ships. It looks like he's going to try to run away with his villagers.
Oh.
But, well, the Arbalists are starting to push in from Dogao, though. He's got capped ram and a bunch of Arbalists with no chemistry, no bracer.
Well, he doesn't actually get access to the bracer technology, but chemistry will help him here, and the capped rams... Skittle is going to lose a big chunk of his forward unless he pulls back. RiuT is losing almost all of his base, but now Skittle has to take on Dogao. Will he be able to do it? I have reasonable faith, since RiuT is quite weak at this point.
And I think fire has been relegated to a slinging role at this stage. Because there's not really much that the Viking player can do now that they're getting into an Imperial Age stage of the game. Ooh, RiuT's got heavy demos though. This could be bad if you get some good shots off of NilPferD's. Yeah, there we are. 2 heavy demos took out 4 fast fire ships.
That was a good play there from RiuT. He did actually manage to get quite a couple of free pickoffs. He has a large army of galleons, but the thing is I don't think he has enough of a size advantage here to actually take this fight. He's just trying to do as much free damage as he can from a distance, kite those fast fire ships to the best of his abilities, as it looks like NilPferD does not want to engage yet.
Skittle seems to be switching back into knights. Yeah, he's switching cavalier. That's, I think, definitely not going to work, though.
I mean, I know why I know why he's doing it, because he wants to deal with those capped rams and those arbalists, and he's going to have a lot of trouble dealing with that if he has an army of nothing but, like, halberdiers and a couple of hand cannoneers. Yeah. It's just that it's going to be so slow to get out. Dogao already has enough arbalists that he will be able to kill any small group of cavaliers with ease. He has to wait for those to mass up, and in the meantime, he's giving Dogao a chance to actually establish a castle on this hill and start treading Skittle, losing control of their island.
And also the other problem is that the Malian player couldn't just add in halbs so quickly, and with the extra pierce armor, they're still gonna die to hand cannons, but they're gonna be a little bit more tanky, and probably just enough, in my opinion, to be able to survive any cavalier that are coming in.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. The fact that he can just very easily, the Malians player, can make those halberdiers, and the Malian halberdiers, if you're able to actually make them... Oh my god, those demo shots from RiuT, wiping out almost all of NilPferD's navy. Devastating. I think that RiuT is actually in a pretty good spot right now. Skittle slowly losing momentum. Another demo shot. Oh my gosh.
And RiuT's still got a lot of wood, quite a bit of gold in the bank, so he can keep making warships for a while now, even though he doesn't have a lot of eco at this stage. I think fire is full slinging him wood gold for boats at this point in time.
This might be... Oh my god. This game has mostly been a 2v2 for a good chunk of it, as Pedro has been slinging for most of the game, and Fire has been dead and is now slinging, so... It looks like the game is mostly going to reset, as Skittle clinging on for dear life. He has a bunch of watchtowers, by the way. Those aren't bombard towers.
No, just watchtowers. I'm guessing he hasn't done...
Heated shot?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
The tech that never gets researched. I'm pretty sure he hasn't done that. So the watchtowers aren't too good. Probably got no arrow slits either.
This is going to be a close game, and... I have to put a little bit of emphasis on the fact that NilPferD is indeed the Byzantines, so he has those insanely strong fast fire ships. It's worth noting, by the way, that he does not have the castle, so he did not get the Greek fire upgrade, adding an additional range onto his fast fire ships. But still, I think that makes him have a very, very powerful navy. And it looks like both players are just going to kick each other off their islands.
Oh, I think if he could get a castle and get Greek fire, that could actually be really, really effective. Like, just to increase the fast fire ships that he does have, and like not using it as the bulk of his army, but just to run around and harass them.
I'm not sure what I would have preferred to see from Skittle here, but the Cavaliers are just not working out. I mean, maybe you throw in some of those arquebus bombard cannons as a way to deal with those arbalists, maybe a few onagers, but the Cavaliers not really paying off. He is able to clear up some of those units, but the halberdiers are just streaming in. Skittle is going to completely lose control of his forward, and now RiuT gets to settle back down, putting down a market at the corner of their island. Perhaps they're considering setting up a trade line and setting up for a long game.
Yeah, well, we can see that Pedro is already massing markets in the north side of their island.
Oh, wow.
So they're definitely getting ready for the trade. And at the moment, Skittle is trying to market as well, but there is a single galley from Dogao there, just being a bit of a nuisance.
Well, RiuT moving back in. Skittle he's lost all of his momentum. No more forward for him. Game has sort of reset to this stalemate point, but I have to give the advantage to NilPferD on the water. I think his navy is superior to RiuT's. He has those Byzantine fast fire ships. He does have, I think, more boats in general. It's going to take some excellent heavy demo shots, but he doesn't have any. And
RiuT's teched into elite caravels now.
Ooh.
He just needs to get the +1/+1 armor from the castle. And I think his navy would start to get pretty strong if he can get some good caravel shots from the fire ships. Not caravel, sorry, demolition ships.
Yeah, he'll need to mass up quite a few caravels before that becomes stronger, and I do like that he's pulling out here rather than just losing his entire navy to this fight, as I do think that he would actually lose this battle. He's just trying to reach this critical mass of ranged ships. Right now, though, RiuT had to wait so long for those upgrades that he has to pull back. Thank you, some Flying Burrito, for the resub. Look at RiuT putting down those lumber camps on the right side of their enemy island. Oh my.
Oh, those vills are all dead now. And look at the mass trebs just coming to flatten the lumber camp. I think that's what he's... Instant kill.
One shot, one kill. That lumber camp down for the count. RiuT no longer has any sort of offensive presence on the opposing island. That one galley, by the way, from Dogao, still cleaning up all those villagers. That market might never come down at this rate. And
on the other side, NilPferD's got elite cannon galleon, so he's going to start clearing the landmass near Dogao and Fire's kind of reboomed economy. Maybe try to make space for a landing by someone.
Perhaps
Pedro, if he got to Imp, if he could land like 40 champions, could just run through someone's economy and just kill all the town centers.
Yeah, I think
they're basically Huskarls.
Yeah, they're like Huskarls, but even slightly stronger than them. The Malian infantry. Yup, they have better stats overall. They're like a Huskarl without any of the downsides. Like, they still lose to fully upgraded champions one-on-one, but they're very, very powerful units. And I think NC's seeing an excellent opportunity here to exploit the fact that, you know, Brazil has pulled all of their navy to the backside of their island, leaving them wide open and vulnerable to these elite cannon galleons. They're just running roughshod over all of Brazil's island. They're losing so much infrastructure. How are they going to deal with this navy?
I have no idea. And Skittle is massing elite caravels in the middle of the water. So once he gets 30, 40 caravels, I've tried fighting them with galleons, and it just does not work. Like, they just do so much splash damage, everything just dies. And oh, the galleons are just going to start to flatten the trade.
Yeah, once you get a critical mass of caravels, it's sort of like the same thing with heavy scorpions. Once you're able to actually mass up enough of them, then they become extremely difficult to deal with. Dogao trying to use his halberdiers to deal with the ships, as they do have an attack bonus versus ships, but, you know, as soon as the navy gets pulled back into the middle of the water, those halberdiers don't do anything, and you know, Dogao's trying to use some trebuchets to clear out this navy, but there are so many ships, this could be curtains for Brazil if they can't deal with this navy.
I think it might be, because there's only RiuT on water versus 2 for the NC team. And like, okay, yep, Fire is starting to tech into galleys in the back, but he's still in Castle Age, he's not Imp yet. He's almost in Imperial Age, but he doesn't have any wood really, he's spending it all on galleys.
Yeah, for those of you who are wondering exactly why both Fire and Pedro are so weak, it's because Pedro has been slinging for most of the game, so he's been attributing his resources to his teammates, focusing entirely on his own economy, and Fire has been doing that as well since he died early on. He had to transition into slinging as a way to claw his team back into the game. And I would say that was largely successful, but right now, the naval dominance from NC is just overwhelming. RiuT trying desperately to get that massive caravels going, but it might be too little too late. He has a reasonable navy on the right, but I think that he's still outnumbered.
I think so, definitely. And if, like, NilPferD can easily send back 20 galleons over to that side if he needs to help out. Because he's just got so much water on the water control at the moment. I can see NilPferD starting to build some bombard towers to defend his markets on the left-hand side of that map. I'm thinking keeps with heated shot and arrow slits would be more effective versus boats than bombard towers.
Well, that's actually an interesting point, and it does save you a little bit of gold, since bombard towers do cost gold as well as stone, which adds up certainly over time. Meanwhile, RiuT has stationed one of his galleons at the top, and the NC team is frantically pinging that as it's been slowly picking off the trade. It looks like Skittle will be pulling off a bunch of his villagers to deal with this 2 HP galleon.
Oh, Heroville there.
Oh, this is why Age of Empires 2 is, of course, one of my favorite games of all time, due to the realism and historical accuracy right there.
Yeah, didn't you know that? That's how Queen Elizabeth beat the Spanish. They just punched the Spanish boats.
Only in the African Kingdoms 3v3 showcase do you get to see the one-punch villager in action.
I'm actually really impressed with Dogao's two trebuchets. They have been slowly picking away at those boats for a long, long time now. And the
Yeah.
amount of micro that is to tell your trebuchets to attack a boat, he's just got to keep tabbing back over there and telling them to go. Like, I'm impressed with his dedication.
Yeah, I would
Like,
say.
a normal player would make siege rams and like come in with some onagers or something. But no, Dogao, he has to use trebs.
If only he had more Trebs, because even though he is killing a reasonable chunk of this navy, it's just taking so long. And the Brazil team is sustaining so many losses, but they're not willing to give up yet. As long as RiuT just has a navy, and he does, it's going to boil down to some good heavy demolition ship shots. Can he get them? It looks like they're being focused, fired down, but he does get one good detonation there. Will he get another? Yes.
Oh, that was bad. That was horrible. That was all the elite caravels dead.
Oh
and
my
on
god.
The other side, fire is distracting NilPferD, so we can't send any reinforcements over to that side.
Oh my god. RiuT is actually cleaning up this navy. Is this game not over? Brazil showing promising signs of life with these good heavy demolition ship shots. He's getting another good series of detonations. Can he blow up the rest of this navy? RiuT pushing out, but meanwhile on the left side, fire's getting huge. He's got a big navy.
The problem is going to be for Brazil is that they don't have trade.
Yeah.
They need to retake that little area there. Like if they could sneakily get a castle up somewhere to stop any more boats getting in there, and they could just slowly pick off those ones in the middle, then they might be in an okay situation. But as long as they're sitting there, there's just nothing that they can do.
There's still, yeah.
The players are going to start to get to the situation where they're going to start buying wood soon, and with no trade, they can't do that.
Oh my god. This game, well, I guess one thing they can do is slowly wait for Dogao to clear out those caravels. That's going to take forever. Meanwhile, though, Pedro's had enough of this turtling resident sleeper bullshit. He has landed some villagers on the tip of their island, and I really like that this game is actually boiled down to exactly what you mentioned at the start, which is that the way that Brazil's island is shaped denies them the trade in the late game, and that's kind of what this game is boiled down to. They have to reclaim this small little area, but in order to do it, they have to walk around their entire island and clear out all of this navy. Can they do it? They have no trade.
I don't think so. Like they have to get trade as quickly as possible. Like Fire, he's got a massive trade carts, and it looks like he's gonna make a run with them past the caravels. And this is not going to go well at all. This is just going to be absolute.
Oh! Look at the caravel shots!
Like, they're just the pass-through damage. Like all of the trade cards are dead basically, and he's got absolutely nothing to show for that. He just wasted like 400 gold with those trade cards.
I think Fire just, like, ran out of patience, and he was just like, fuck it, man, I'm gonna try and get some trade anyway, but he didn't know that perhaps the caravels actually have that piercing shot. That's a huge waste of gold and wood, by the way. That is a devastating trade that you don't want to make. But meanwhile, though, Fire has a lot of galleons. It looks like, though, that Brazil is going to resign, despite the fact that they are actually securing water control, or at least getting closer to it, but they have no trade. That's the thing, and they realize now that there's no way that they're actually going to be able to claim that safely. They're going to start running out of resources well before then.
And especially with Pedro landing now, because none of them have really got any land army. Still, like, there's still some Arbalists somewhere for Dogao, I think. On the map, they should be somewhere, unless you deleted them. But, as we said, Arbalists versus Malian champions, it doesn't work. They've got, like, 8 pierce armor.
Yeah, and as well, there's the champion landing from Pedro that you were talking about here.
Yeah.
Actually coming into play. It's just one of the reasons why this game is over. I have to say, though, this one is very close.
Skittle has actually landed as well with bombard towers and stables again.
No more watchtowers.
No, he's upgraded this time.
You can even see a pile of trade carts from RiuT also near Skittle's landing. So yeah, what a crazy game. What a crazy game. Brazil almost threatened a comeback, but the way their island was shaped almost essentially decided the game, as it allowed NC, they noticed that there was that little inlet there, and they exploited it to its full potential, and they actually managed to deny them the trade for so long that Brazil starved.
Like, they've still got a little bit of gold left, but long term, it's just not going to sustain them for more than the next 2 or 3 minutes of game time.
The moment that Pedro makes his first military unit, Brazil's like, "Oh, GG, we can't do it anymore."
Yeah, Pedro too strong. Okay, this time on to game 3, which is Nomad.
Wow. For those of you wondering what slinging looks like, take a look at the tribute sent and received. Good lord. 191 villager height for Pedro, and a army size of 12 units. Alright guys, well thank you so much for watching so far. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with the next game. We're going to be playing all 5, so we're going to be jumping into the game 3 of the African Kingdom Showcase. I will have a link to all of those in the video description below. They will be uploaded to YouTube within a couple of days, and for those of you watching live, the match will start in a couple of minutes. And yes, we will be right back.